Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that affects almost everyone at some point in life: money. More specifically, we'll explore why most people struggle with money even when they work hard and earn a decent income. Throughout this episode, I'll explain some important financial ideas, introduce new vocabulary, and give you real-life examples to help you understand everything clearly. So relax, listen carefully, and let's begin. For many people, money feels like a constant pressure. No matter how much they earn, they feel like it's never enough. They pay their bills, buy what they need, and try to save a little, but somehow there's always stress. A common belief is that earning more money will solve the problem, but very often it doesn't. One reason is something called lifestyle inflation. When people start earning more, they slowly increase their spending. They move into nicer homes, buy better cars, and spend more on entertainment. At first, it feels like success. But soon, their expenses grow so much that they're in the same situation as before. Let's pause for a moment and look at this phrase, lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation means increasing your spending as your income increases. For example, when his salary went up, lifestyle inflation followed, and he started spending much more every month. Another useful word here is expenses. Expenses are the money you spend on things like rent, food, and bills. For example, her monthly expenses were higher than her income, so she couldn't save anything. Now, back to the topic. This is why many people with high salaries still live paycheck to paycheck. They earn well, but they spend just as much. Their lifestyle grows, but their savings do not. Now, let's pause here for a moment. We talked about lifestyle inflation, expenses, and why earning more money doesn't always solve financial stress. And now, let's look at some useful new words connected to money. These are words you can use in real life when you talk about finances. Let's start with the first word. The first word is income. Income means the money you earn from your job or business. For example, my monthly income covers my basic needs. Again, my monthly income covers my basic needs. One more time. My monthly income covers my basic needs. Good. Now, the second word is savings. Savings are the money you keep for the future. For example, I try to build my savings every month. Again, I try to build my savings every month. One more time. I try to build my savings every month. Great. Now the third word is budget. A budget is a plan for how you spend your money. For example, I made a budget to control my expenses. Again, I made a budget to control my expenses. One more time. I made a budget to control my expenses. Perfect. Now let's move to the fourth word, debt. Debt is money you owe. For example, he is in debt because he spends more than he earns. Again, he is in debt because he spends more than he earns. One more time. He is in debt because he spends more than he earns. Very good. Now the fifth word is afford. Afford means to have enough money to buy something. For example, I can't afford a new car right now. Again, I can't afford a new car right now. One more time. I can't afford a new car right now. Nice. And the last word for today is invest. Invest means to put money into something to grow it in the future. For example, she decided to invest part of her income. Again, she decided to invest part of her income. One more time, she decided to invest part of her income. Excellent. So today we learned some very useful money words: income, savings, budget, debt, afford, invest. Try to use these words in your daily life. The more you practice, the more natural your English will sound. Another important reason people struggle with money is the lack of financial education. Most schools don't teach students how to manage money. People grow up without learning how to budget, invest, or deal with debt. Because of this, many adults make financial mistakes. They use credit cards without understanding interest rates. They borrow money without thinking about the long-term cost. And they often keep their savings in places where inflation slowly reduces their value. Let's explain a few words here. Financial education means learning how money works and how to manage it wisely. Example: after reading books about financial education, he started investing instead of wasting money. Debt means money that you owe. Example: she was in debt because she used credit cards for everyday shopping. Interest rate is the extra percentage you pay when you borrow money. Example: the loan had a high interest rate, so it became very expensive over time. Without this knowledge, people often feel lost when it comes to finances. Money becomes something stressful instead of something empowering. And let's look at some useful new words connected to today's topic. These are words you can use when talking about money and financial life. Let's start with the first word. The first word is financial education. Financial education means learning how money works and how to manage it wisely. For example, financial education helped him make better money decisions. Again, financial education helped him make better money decisions. One more time, financial education helped him make better money decisions. Great. Now, the second word is debt. Debt means money that you owe. For example, she is in debt because she used credit cards too much. Again, she is in debt because she used credit cards too much. One more time, she is in debt because she used credit cards too much. Good. Now, let's move to the third word, interest rate. Interest rate is the extra money you pay when you borrow money. For example, the bank charged a high interest rate on the loan. Again, the bank charged a high interest rate on the loan. One more time. The bank charged a high interest rate on the loan. Nice. Now, the fourth word is borrow. Borrow means to take money and promise to give it back later. For example, he had to borrow money to pay his bills. Again, he had to borrow money to pay his bills. One more time, he had to borrow money to pay his bills. Perfect. Now, the fifth word is inflation. Inflation means prices slowly go up over time and money loses value. For example, inflation made everyday things more expensive. Again, inflation made everyday things more expensive. One more time. Inflation made everyday things more expensive. Very good. And the next word for today is mistake. A financial mistake is a bad money decision. For example, buying things on credit without a plan was a big financial mistake. Again, buying things on credit without a plan was a big financial mistake. One more time, buying things on credit without a plan was a big financial mistake. Excellent. Another powerful factor is emotional spending. This happens when people buy things based on feelings, not real needs. After a hard day, shopping feels relaxing. Buying something new gives a short moment of happiness. But over time, these habits create financial problems. Small purchases happen often. Coffee every morning, online shopping during breaks, food delivery instead of cooking. Each purchase seems harmless, but together they add up to a large amount of money. Let's look at the phrase add up. Add up means to become a large total over time. Example, all those small expenses added up to thousands of dollars by the end of the year. Another phrase is in the moment. In the moment means focusing only on now, not the future. Example, he spent money in the moment without thinking about long-term consequences. Emotional spending is one of the main reasons people are surprised when they check their bank accounts. Now, let's talk about short-term thinking and long-term thinking. Short-term thinking focuses on immediate comfort. It asks, can I afford this right now? Long-term thinking focuses on future results. It asks, is this helping my financial future? People who build wealth usually think long-term. They save regularly, they invest patiently, they avoid unnecessary debt. They understand that progress takes time. Let's explain stability. Stability means being financially secure and not constantly worried about money. Example, after years of saving and investing, he finally achieved financial stability. Another useful phrase is long-term growth. Long-term growth means slow but steady improvement over many years. Example, investing allowed her to experience long-term growth of her savings. One of the best examples of long-term thinking is compound interest. Compound interest is when your money earns returns, and then those returns earn even more returns over time. It's like a snowball getting bigger as it rolls downhill. For example, if you invest early, compound interest can dramatically increase your wealth. Many people don't use this powerful tool because they don't understand it, or they think it's too complicated. But in reality, it's one of the simplest ways to build wealth slowly and safely. When you put all these ideas together, a clear picture appears. Most people struggle with money not because they are lazy or irresponsible. They struggle because of habits and lack of knowledge. Lifestyle inflation keeps them spending more. Lack of education leads to poor decisions. Emotional spending drains their income. Short-term thinking prevents long-term success. The good news is that all of this can change. Anyone can learn better financial habits. Anyone can improve their situation step by step. It doesn't require being rich. Before we finish today's episode, let's quickly review some of the key words and expressions we talked about when discussing money and financial habits. This will help you remember them and use them more naturally in your own English. First, we talked about lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation happens when people increase their spending as their income grows. For example, after getting a promotion, lifestyle inflation slowly took control, and he started spending much more each month. Next, we mentioned expenses. Expenses are the regular costs of living, such as rent, food, and bills. For example, her monthly expenses were so high that she found it difficult to save any money. Then we talked about financial education. Financial education means learning how money works and how to manage it wisely. For example, thanks to financial education, he learned how to invest instead of wasting money on unnecessary things. Another important word was debt. Debt is money that you owe to a bank or another person. For example, she worked hard to pay off her debt and finally become financially free. We also discussed interest rate. The interest rate is the extra percentage you pay when you borrow money. For example, a high interest rate can make a small loan very expensive over time. Then we use the expression add up. To add up means to become a large total over time. For example, all those small daily expenses added up to a huge amount by the end of the year. We talked about emotional spending. Emotional spending is buying things based on feelings rather than real needs. For example, when she was stressed, emotional spending became her way of feeling better. Another useful word was stability. Stability means being financially secure and not constantly worried about money. For example, after years of saving and smart investing, he finally achieved financial stability. And finally, we discussed compound interest. Compound interest is when your money grows and the growth itself continues to earn more money. For example, by investing early, compound interest helped him build wealth over time. Before we finish, let me leave you with one final thought. Money is a tool. When you understand how to use it, it can give you freedom and security. When you don't, it often becomes a source of stress. In the next episode, we'll explore why saving money alone is not enough to become wealthy, and what smart people do instead. Thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow the podcast and continue improving your English with me. I'll see you in the next one.